G'day guys and welcome back to the Freo Faithful podcast. We've made it to episode number Michael Walters, number 10.
Yes!
And it's coming off a huge ANZAC Day win. This club is incredible, isn't it? We were down in the dumps last week and now we are back on top of the world. We're here with the man in the bucket hat, Drewz. Mate, how are you?
I don't know what bucket hat you're talking about, man. Nah, look, I just need a haircut and I've just been wearing that black cap too much, and I was like, I just need to switch it up. Doing good. The Dockers got a win Friday night. The Div 12 Resi's got a win Saturday morning. So it's been a good weekend. So yeah, no, it's been fun. I'm in good spirits, and I'm keen to talk about the Dockers win.
I mean, how good was it? It was just one of those games where our stars got going, our role players did their job fantastically, and there were very, very limited passengers. I thought everyone played their role absolutely fantastically. A nice 18-point win. Again, we may have not closed it out as well as we would have wanted to, but we did the job in the first three quarters against a very, very valiant outfit. How did you see the game as a whole?
Yeah, he said we didn't really close it out, but I feel like it was a four-quarter effort, to be honest. Like, Adelaide are a really good side. And yeah, there was obviously going to be ebbs and flows in momentum, but I think we had the opportunities in the fourth quarter. We just didn't take them. I don't know if you've watched the game back, but I think it was Jai Amos got a holding the ball in the fourth quarter, top of the goal square. Dudley plays on and kicks it out on the full. If he kicks that through, it's like maybe we do kick 2 or 3 in the last quarter, but we don't kick a goal in the last quarter, sort of bring Adelaide back into it. There's no secret to what works for the Dockers. It's bringing pressure, defending as a team, and letting Caleb Sarong and Andy Brayshaw cook in the midfield. Shea Bolton was massive again. There's no secret to what makes us good. Heading into the game, I was a bit glass half empty, coming off the loss to the D's, and given how good Adelaide have played. And I was speaking on the True Footy live stream. We live streamed the Essendon Collingwood game. I was looking back through all the Essendon Adelaide games, and they hadn't played a bad game all year. Like, even the 2 losses that they had to Geelong at Gather Round and Gold Coast up at Metricon, like, they were pretty valiant. So I was like, man, they're just going to come through. Like, they're a super scary side. But it almost felt like they did have an off day, the Crows. We can get onto the brilliance of the Dockers, but I feel like their kicking efficiency was down as a product of the pressure that we brought. But then, in front of goal, they were pretty inaccurate as well. But we'll take it. We were the better team for the 4 quarters. And, happy days. 4 points on the board. Back up with more wins and losses.
Yeah, I agree with you in terms of we played a good side, but their ball usage just wasn't up to scratch. But it was a result of our pressure. You look at all over the ground from the back line. You've got Miller and Laird and Michelani who usually use it well, but our front half pressure was through the roof, probably the best we've seen it all season. And the same goes for the midfield. Guys like Jordan Dawson, Jake Saligo, Isaac Grant can usually get themselves so much space to effectively move it forward. And I mean, particularly Jordan Dawson had a really off day by foot as a byproduct of the pressure that everyone was bringing. So, yeah, it was really good to see there was a bit of fight and a bit of response from during the week, because I remember you called me during the week and you said that you thought Adelaide might get over us and you weren't filled with confidence. And that sort of put my confidence down a bit, and I ended up tipping Adelaide.
Sorry, mate.
and going into the game, I was quite pessimistic. Even when I was researching for the preview, I just looked at so many areas on the ground and I didn't really see an answer. Coming off a game against Melbourne where, look, in hindsight, we were very fatigued and the whole routine of our week was just a bit off. But I think with a normal week at home, on the big stage, we really showed our best footy. You mentioned the midfield just before. Andy Brayshaw and Caleb Strong speak for themselves. Andy Brayshaw is having a year we haven't seen since 2022, but I want to speak about Matt Johnson for a bit, because he's someone that's been criticised so much amongst our fan base. He was even criticised a bit on the commentary on Friday night when I was watching the game back, which I was a bit surprised about. But his cleanliness and his toughness is really shining through this season. And yet again, it feels like we're saying it every week, but another career best game for Jono, 27 touches and just a really hard-nosed effort. What do you make of Jono's game?
Yeah. See, Jono, I feel like he's broken through in terms of he's matured to the level. I think we've already said this, but the coaches back him in. He's done enough to show that he will be a good player for us. Like, he'll play 150 games, if not 200 for Freo, I think. But he was getting criticised on the commentary just for his ball use. Like, we don't want to be a long down the line team, and there was just a couple of times that he like turned the ball over, going long down the line. But like, that's something that can be easily fixed. He's a big-bodied mid. The role that he plays is pretty tough as well. To be able to switch inside and, I think he mainly starts on the wing and then switches inside when Bray and Sarong go off for a rest. It's a really tough role to play. And yeah, big fan of Jono's season so far. I just wanted to speak about sort of the response from that Melbourne game. Hayden Young came out. There was a lot of stuff that was spoken about during the week about, JL spraying them at training. There was a massive training session where Darcy and Pearce put their head over it and they wouldn't back down and they ended up hurting each other. And yeah, some honest conversations, which always said after we lose. So there was so much that was made out of it. But the main thing that came out of it was Hayden Young saying, like, we need to be more ruthless. And I think that's something that we really need to tap into. And we've got this identity of, team defense and contest, but we need to start identifying as a fucking ruthless team. The amount of tackling machines we have across the park, the amount of X-Factor talent we have in the front half, we need to really dive into that and be like, we are as good as the hype makes us up to be. And I think that was, really well displayed against the Crows, who have been a really scary side and a ruthless side all year. Like, aside from that GWS game, they've been the number one scoring team in the competition. And yeah, it was a weird week in the lead up to that Melbourne game, but I hate to use that as an excuse. I know it does have an effect. You're not sleeping in your own beds and that type of stuff. But back to the game as a whole. Midfield, happy, good. I'll let you lead the horse from here, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. So on that Melbourne game, it is hard to sort of make excuses because we want to be a anytime, anywhere sort of team like we used to be under Ross.
Particularly at the MCG. Like,
absolutely, it's a place you've got to be winning. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we don't want to be making those excuses, but they are valid excuses in hindsight. Yeah, midfield really clicked, as we've already mentioned. Jono, Sarong, Andy Brayshaw. I mean, Andy Brayshaw, he's going to a gear we haven't seen yet in his career. 2022, he had a fantastic year, but I think it was a breakout year in a sense, but we still already knew of his talent. He was already about 4 or 5 years into the system by then. But at this stage in his career, now he's 6 or 7 years in, and he's, a vice captain, and he's leading that midfield head on. He's the oldest in that midfield group, and he is showing week in, week out, sort of the benchmark on how tough and how clean you need to be if we want to be a successful team. And I think, as good as Caleb Sarong is, I think Sarong's still learning off Brayshaw week in, week out. Same goes for Hayden Young, who hasn't been in the midfield for as long as him. So I feel like Andy Brayshaw has taken his role to a whole new level this season and is really leading by example.
Andrew Brayshaw is going to go down as one of the greatest to ever put on the purple at the rate that he's developing. Like, yeah, that for me was probably a top. He's had so many good games over the years. Maybe it's just recency bias, but that was one of the best games I've ever seen him play. 37 disposals. His endurance has got to be one of the best in the AFL. His ability to run out games at speed with the effort that he brings. He was making an effort. I reckon there was like a minute left in the game, and he made like a repeat effort tackle, and he just runs for days. And yeah, he really is the barometer for the team. Probably more so Sarong, actually. I feel like if Sarong's playing well, we're usually on. Brayshaw always shows up. But yeah, he could genuinely be leading the Brownlow at this point. Because in the games that Sarong hasn't showed up, Brayshaw's still been there. So I'd say he's definitely leading our BNF. And you can't hate this man as an opposition supporter as well. He's just such a humble guy. I posted it on our Instagram, but we're just so lucky to have such a professional to lead this side. And yeah, he committed at the start of the year, and I'm so excited to see him play for Freo for years to come. What a gun we've got.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving to other parts of our midfield, Hayden Young was a really interesting one on the weekend because we saw the goal that he kicked, and it came from at the end of the quarter, him resting at full forward and just flying into a contest. I think Tracy distracted the defender, and Young took it in his stride. We've been talking about the whole resting of the Sarong, Brayshaw, and Young forward thing. Sarong and Brayshaw have tended to stay in the midfield a bit more since Young's come back in the team, and Young, ever since he's come back in, has made some good contests for the centre, and we saw him get a bit of reward on the weekend with that goal. He was very good out of the middle, but we are starting to see sort of a 70-30 midfield forward split for Young, and we're trying to play him a bit more front of centre just because of his sort of creativity and the skill set that he brings. Hayden Young, talk to me.
Yeah. Well, lethal left foot, lethal finishing, damage in the front half. I can't remember who it was that he set up for a goal, and it's going to annoy me. I was watching it with my housemate, and Hayden Young gets the ball 5 meters ahead of the centre circle, and I'm like, this is a goal. Like, you just know as soon as Hayden Young gets the ball in space, it's going to lead to a score. He had an incredible first quarter. I think he had about 10 or 11 touches, and the commentary was speaking about him in the last 30 seconds, like, get the ball in the hands of Hayden Young because he's the hot hand right now. He ends up going forward and kicking that late goal. We've been a really good red time team this year. Like that second quarter against the Bulldogs, we scored like 5 goals in 5 minutes or something like that. I think we kicked 2 or 3 late in that first quarter. But yeah, I was speaking to Jamo about this actually last week, how we didn't like Caleb Sarong resting forward. We probably had to at the time, particularly against Geelong with no Bolton, no Young, because we would have just wanted to keep Sarong on the ground, and like the effort that he puts in the midfield, like you can't. I think we'd prefer to just keep him up forward than send him off, but then he'd sort of get stuck there. But Hayden Young is the one you want resting forward. The rotation with him and Shea Bolton is crazy. The aerial ability can't be understated as well. You got to remember that this guy was a great intercept defender before he went to the midfield, and now he's playing forward. He reads to play really well. And yeah, just another absolute jet we've got on our hands, and a leader of the club as well. So, very happy with Hayden Young's game. Shea Bolton did some crazy things again. When I'm watching him, I just cheer. I'm like, go Shea Bolton the Docker. Go Shea Bolton
I can't believe he actually plays for us, eh?
I can't believe it. Like, I think he kicked like the second goal of the day, I think it was. Or in the first quarter, he kicked one. You just have, like, the agility on the man. You can't tackle him. He's an absolute human highlight reel. And I feel like, speaking of barometers, Michael Frederick, he had an off week against the D's, but it wasn't like he had a massive game. But if Frederick's hitting the scoreboard, you know you're in good stead, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy we're on the same wavelength with Shea, because whenever I'm yelling, go Shea, I still actually can't believe I'm yelling for a Fremantle player. It's crazy we've got him. I was speaking to my mate the other day. I was like, if someone 5 years ago had have told you that Shea Bolton, Corey Wagner, and Oscar McDonald would be at the same club, you'd have no idea it would be Freo. It's a wild thought, isn't it? And the fact that it actually all turned out to be so serviceable for us as well. I do want to move into the forward line, and particularly Oscar McDonald, because some of the things he did was so good, and it's going to be sad to see him leave the team next week, because 99% sure Dog will come back in.
I won't be sad to see Luke Jackson come in, but
I won't be sad to see Luke Jackson come in. But some of the things stiff. Oscar McDonald did, absolutely was stiff. I mean, the 2 goals, I think, was the least of what he did. You know, there were 2 good goals, but some of the goal assists he got were really, really smart. And he had a few passages of play where he got the ball and within a split second had some incredible vision to make a 40-meter kick. He made a couple kicks on Friday that really just broke a few transition plays open for us, and I thought he played a really understated role. And I was talking about in the preview how we needed both Tracy and Amos to fire, which they ended up doing, but I wasn't putting too much pressure on Omac. And that being said, Omac played his role and more. I thought he had a really, really good game. And as he said, I'm not going to be sad to see Dogger Jackson come back in the team, because that's just going to make us 10 times better. But I thought Omac played really, really well on Friday.
Well, yeah, you just need that competition for spots. You need the competition for spots. Had a bit of a tongue tie there, but go back to Pio Oscar. Just go and dominate. Hopefully he doesn't get injured. He has had a very injury-riddled career. So it was good to see him come in, get the win on the big stage because he deserves it. I want to get into our half-backs, Noah.
Yep.
Last week, we were speaking about how we didn't have any half-back runners going through the midfield. Our pressure sucked, and that's why we lost the game. And within the first quarter, you could already see the influence that our half-backs were having, particularly Geordie Clark, who I thought was one of the best on ground. He's had a good couple of weeks. He's having a really good season, really maturing as a player. He's not in our leadership group, is he?
No, he's not. But he plays like it.
Yeah, he really stands up and he's a very vocal player out there. But yeah, I was really impressed with his game. Getting really high up the ground and a bit of a headache for opposition players. I thought Draper had a really solid game as well. And then, Kyle Warner, he's just that fringe player, isn't he? Like, didn't have a bad game, but I'd say like him and Omac are obviously like the interchangeable ones. But yeah, and Corey Wagner as well, who actually played a little bit of midfield time. JL said that he wanted to get a bit different pace in the middle of the ground. Didn't hate it, didn't love it, sort of neutral on Corey Wagner going into our midfield. But it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Like, you have Brayshaw, Sarong, Young, Johnson, Bolton. You could chuck Sikowski in there.
So I guess we were chucking an extra number in there.
Yeah. I don't hate it. It's just a bit of a weird one. But speaking to people over here that don't follow the Dockers, they're like, "Oh, you can't be winning games with Corey Wagner in your team." And it's like, he's actually been a revelation at the Dockers, the boy.
Yeah.
I like him a lot. And he's probably played. Has he played every game this year, Corey Wagner? Oh no, he's missed some with calf injury, hasn't he?
He has. Yeah.
It hasn't been like, Corey Wagner's come back in because X is out type thing. Like, Corey Wagner has probably been best 22 throughout this year.
Did Wags run with Rankin into the midfield? I don't even remember him in there.
Yes. I think he did.
Okay.
I think he did. And not all day. I'm kind of chatting shit here. People in the comments could probably come in with a more analytical lens, but Rankin's goal in the first quarter where he just kicked it off a step, that was crazy. Wagner's tied on him and just switched off for half a second, and Rankin was his man there. So obviously trust him enough to run with one of the best players in the competition.
Well, it's the same with that Shea Bolton goal, that sidestep, and he was just off a half chance around the body. So those types of players are just so hard to defend. I want some more love on Carl Warner's name because this is, again, a lot like Matt Johnson, someone that's been criticised throughout his career and early this season. And I thought Carl Warner had one of his most hard-nosed and tough performances on the weekend. I thought he went into every contest 110%. I thought he won a few really big hard balls, and I think his ball usage is improving by the game. I remember that preseason game against Melbourne. Carl came on for a quarter, and I thought his ball usage was fantastic. And then to start the season, it was really off, and he went to the waffle for a bit, and I was a bit off him. But I think that game on the weekend, he's slowly building up his credits as a really valued member of that back six. He still certainly is a fringe player, but I wouldn't be surprised if soon enough, by the midpoint of the season, if he's a locked-in member of our team. I'm really loving what he's bringing at the moment, Carl Warner. As you mentioned, Corey Wagner, revelation off halfback. Even speaking to people over here, Corey Wagner doesn't necessarily get the praise outside of the Freo fan base that he probably deserves, but he's a bit like, he doesn't play like James Aish, but he's sort of that James Aish type where he doesn't really put a foot wrong, good ball user, and just a really, really hard worker. So it's always good having a guy like Wags in there. And another player, this was, again, Brennan Cox is just building by the week. He's probably been our best defender over the past 2 weeks, either him or Geordie Clark. I've really loved what he's brought. And we're, again, just putting him into positions where he can play his best footy, which is so relieving because, we've never doubted Brennan Cox's ability. It's just the role.
You have.
Let me speak. It's just the role we've been playing him in. I remember at the start of the season, I was saying we can't be playing him one-on-one in situations.
You didn't have him in your best 23. You didn't have him in your
Yeah, I
best
didn't.
23.
Mate, I'm not doubting his talent. I'm doubting the sort of setup we go with in the back six.
Okay, champion. Nah,
Don't
fair
chant
enough.
me without a right to reply. That is absolute bullshit.
Alex Pearce was very good as well.
Yeah.
Did he mainly match up on Thilthorpe? Pearce? Or was it?
Yes.
Were they sort of switching
did.
in and out?
I feel like Cox and Draper got Walker. Yeah.
Yeah. And Thilthorpe ended up getting a few, but Tex had a pretty quiet night. Just to circle back to that Kyle Warner point, I think the way I would sum up Kyle Warner is toughness is like the sort of best part of his game. Come into the side at the start of 2024 and got knocked out in that Brisbane game, like just because he's so hard nosed, and like so I think that is a big part of his game, and what he lacks, what he doesn't sort of have in skill and talent, not to knock him, but he really cracks in, which you need to do if you're in that position that he's in. He didn't really do anything terribly wrong, but yeah, I think Kyle Warner's going to be one of those players that does really good things and then sort of really frustrating things at times. Bit of an Adam McPhee type, bit of a throwback there.
That is a niche pool.
Yeah. I think we've unpacked that game. Obviously, the Len Hall tribute game. Brayshaw gets the inaugural Arthur Leggett medal. How was it at the ground? How was the atmosphere and the overall vibe-ski?
Unbelievable. It was actually our second highest ever non-derby crowd behind that Bulldogs final in 2022.
That's sick.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable atmosphere. Again, the pre-game stuff, which we do so well every single year. We've heard calls this week, even from Victorian media, to sort of make this an annual fixture, the Len Hall game on Anzac Day after the Collingwood-Essendon game. So I think sort of the recognition of the fixture and all the work we've done since 1996 on this game to make it as special as it is now is really getting picked up. And at Optus, I think we've only actually lost one Len Hall game. So we've actually been held in really good stead in these fixtures.
Who was that to?
That was the Bulldogs game, the Rory Lobb return game.
Rats.
Yeah, I know. So, I think we tend to step up to the occasion as well, which is great to see. And overall, it was just a really good atmosphere. I think the players fed off the crowd and, it was a great night at the footy.
We're going to unpack the Saints game throughout the week, but we will do the weekly look ahead as we do at the end of each pod. You know how sometimes we unpack games and we just go, the game will be won or lost in the middle. That type of cliche. Yeah. I was thinking today at work, I was like, the game this week will not be won or lost in the middle, Noah.
No.
It will be won or lost in the half back line of the Saints, because that's where all their weapons lie, particularly Jack Sinclair, who's had an unbelievable season, probably all-Australian at the moment, and Naziah Wanganeen-Miller, a lethal ball user. We've got them in the middle of the park. They'll definitely tag Sarong, or try to, whether they send Zach Jones to him or...
It'll be Windhager.
Windhager, yeah.
Yeah, he tags.
Yeah. So, it's not going to be an easy game, but, we need Frederick, Shea, Hayden Young in that front half to, really do a massive job. The team defense is really going to be tested with those guys. I want to see Geordie Clark and Jack Higgins probably. Because he's in great form, Jordan Clark, as is Jack Higgins, who's right up there in the Coleman at the moment. But two, if you watch Jack Higgins play, he does not work back defensively at all. He actually has zero defending not zero defending.
Mike, he's going to kick 10 on us. Jeez.
Well, if Jack Higgins had a FIFA card, when you're a striker and you might get a cheeky 40 defending on your card. Even though you're a striker, Jack Higgins would have 17, I reckon. He's the deepest lying forward, absolute gun. But I think with how Jordan Clark's been playing, he could really get off the chain, but I think they'll put a bit into Jordan Clark, the Saints as well. Coming up against Ross Lyon. Last year, I was really confident going into this game, and I went with my parents last year, and I was confident we were going to win. We were heaps inaccurate, but we ended up getting the job done. This year, even though they lost to the Lions, they've played some good footy, and it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, I was at that game last year too. It was the most dire game of football ever. It was about 10,000 people there under the roof on a freezing Saturday night. It was so horrible. Now, you say we're going to need to stop their halfback, but Jack Sinclair's the only guy back there now because in the past couple of weeks, Nazai Wangan and Miller has made the shift to the midfield.
Has
and he, on the weekend, he racked up out in the middle. He still sort of lacks the physicality that's required, but he was very, very clean in there. So, look, he might be a new little weapon we'll have to sort of mitigate. But I think Jack McRae's had a steady season. Jack Steele's been quite underwhelming this year. So it's not like they've got weapons left, right, and centre in there. But I think Naz will provide a bit of speed out of there. As you said, Jack Sinclair, who does get a fair bit of midfield clock as well, but mainly off halfback, is going to be their main ball user back there, and he starts most of their players. And Ross Lyon, who sort of sets his teams up in a very defensive and choky way. I'm not sure if choky's a word again. Feels like a weekly we're making up words. You get what I'm saying.
Don't say we make up words, brother. I'm literate, fam.
You're barely literate. You're wearing a bucket hat. Take the bucket hat off.
You don't want me to take the bucket hat off.
Take it off, but that's not terrible.
Bro, that's...
So Ross Lyon sets his teams up in a very defensive manner. But past couple of weeks, they conceded some big scores. That being said, I don't expect them to keep conceding big scores. I think Ross Lyon will really pound on them during the week about limiting sort of our scoring threat, and especially with Luke Jackson coming back into the team and the way he's able to stretch defenses. I think we're really going to have to work hard front of setter to stretch that back line. How good would it be
to just like go over to Marvel and absolutely pump him? Like just like
I know,
because and I'd like to say that every week, but like the narrative going into St Kilda games is always like, oh, it's going to be tough. They're going to defend well, but like Brisbane, didn't matter to Brisbane. They just rolled in and smacked them silly.
Exactly. So, just play our way.
Yeah, and yeah. We got the win last week. Happy days, all good. Sunshine and roses. Not that Adelaide win means nothing if we can't go and beat the Saints on Saturday night. We're so much better than they are. We can't go and lose this game. It's always a stinky fixture, Saints at Marvel. It's the biggest banana peel of them all. But as Hayden Young says, we've got to be ruthless. And if we're not against the Saints, although they don't have the most talented list, they play really well as a team. Their system stands up. It's going to be a tricky dub, but if we show up the way we did against the Bulldogs and against Adelaide, we should be right.
Exactly. And we do just have to be that anywhere, anytime team where we can just roll up, be ruthless, play our way. And just imagine we come off a stinky loss to St Kilda, and then we have to roll into Collingwood on the Thursday night the next week. Like, we really want to win this game just for our own confidence and give us a chance against the Pies, which will be, again, another massive game Thursday night at Optus. So we've just really got to put the foot down. St Kilda, on paper, aren't as good as we are. I think this season, just in terms of game style, they haven't been as good as we've been at our best. And in all aspects of the game, we should win, but, it's a different thing saying we're going to win and actually winning. So we've just got to rock up, prepare well, and get the dub.
Business as usual, baby. Let's go.
Barely as usual, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll make it usual.
Well, there we are. Big win against the Crows. A big game on Friday night coming up. We'll have all the content coming at you throughout the week as usual. We'll have the Oppo view. We'll have my preview, and we'll have the teams yet again on Thursday before yet another late night fan cams on Friday. The fan cams were so good on Friday. We went we went till past midnight and we had some absolute characters on. It was very, very fun. We had about 50 in the whole time.
Sick.
Yeah, it was.
That's good to hear.
It was good. Come join us again. Hopefully for another dub on Friday.
Just for a transparent one. Yeah, I was just gonna say me and Noah sort of have ebbs and flows week to week trying to juggle content. Like it is a bit of a task sometimes to get it out. We've managed so far, but there's probably times where Noah's like, fuck's sake, Andrew, like surely you can edit this, or vice versa. Like we do, yeah. So like the fan cams against the Crows, really I should have done that because I'm the away, like I am at home to watch that. But yeah, it was a late Friday night. I had to be up early Saturday morning. But Yeah, you will have fan cams against the Saints, and then Collingwood. Yeah, we'll see how we go. But yeah, those late night ones over here are a killer for my fan cams. But if you can get home late and do them and they pop off like they did, I'm glad you had fun. I'll have to watch it back. But yeah, keep joining the fan cams. Make sure you guys are supporting the channel. We're loving making this content. It's really rewarding to provide a voice for the Freo Faithful. So yeah, let's keep it going. Like just small things like leaving likes on videos, commenting, having your say, and yeah, joining in on the fan cams to join the community, all that sort of stuff. Leaving 5 stars on Spotify helps a lot. So thank you very much. We're loving it.
Yeah, absolutely. And appreciate all the support you are giving us. I had, again, 3 or 4 people at the game on Friday come up and say they enjoyed the pod,
Nice.
which is great to see. So, yeah, it feels like the fan base is really getting around it. We're growing by the week, and we're enjoying making the content more by the week. So, yeah, thank you all for the support. We'll be back throughout the week for the Saints game. Thank you for listening to the pod. Episode 10. How are we this far in already? Who knows?
Thanks for watching. 10 weeks have probably elapsed. I reckon that's probably
yeah. Geez, good thought process, Andrew. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
Can't Freo.